Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Book Review Blog. I am a book reviewer, and today we're going to review the Stephen King book, The Tommyknockers. To be perfectly honest, this was basically the third or maybe even fourth attempt I've had to read this book. Every time that I try to read this book, I end up stopping because either I don't really like it or something else comes up. And, but because I'm doing this for a review and for, to reach a goal, I felt, okay, I have to read this book. So, anyway, the book is mainly, it's not about like a specific character, because even though there are main characters in it, but it's, in my opinion, it's more of a town, and townspeople. This book is based in the fictitious town of Haven, Maine, and in Haven, there's a famous author named Bobby Anderson. She's a woman, and she is walking along the woods behind her house with her dog, and she knocks into something and kind of like loses her balance, and she looks at what she knocked over, or what she tripped over, and she's like, well, that's kind of weird. It's not a rock. It's not, like a piece of garbage or like an underbrush of a tree or anything. So, and that kind of perks her interest. And so she starts to dig around this area to see what she tripped over. And as she's doing this, she's becoming more and more obsessed with trying to figure out what she's tripped over. And she has a friend named Jim Gardner, who goes by the name of Guard, as a nickname, who is kind of an acquaintance or a lover of hers, but they've kind of drifted apart. And he is he's not an author, but he's like a professor who does poetry. So he is on a poetry tour, and all of a sudden he gets like an intuition that he needs to go see Bobby because Bobby is in danger. And when he goes to Haven and finds out what Bobby's doing, this is maybe about a month, or like 3 weeks to a month after Bobby has found this object in the woods, and he's noticed that a lot of change has happened with Bobby. She's lost like a ton of weight. Her body looks really weird, and she's all excited though, because she's like, oh, come see what I've done. Come see what I've been doing for the last, 3 or 4 weeks. And so he sees it, and she shows him what she has dug up, and she hasn't dug up much, but nonetheless, Bobby has been very busy building new objects, and that's all that I'm going to say with that, because she takes like everyday objects and recreates them to form new machines or new objects in general. And one of the things that Guard starts to realize that she uses to make these machines is batteries. There's like AA's, C's, D's. One of the things that he notices that Bobby has done is she's rewired her water heater, and instead of running on whatever water heaters run, I guess electricity, she has hooked up a bunch of batteries around it and has actually made it much hotter than it normally would be, because it's on super power because of these batteries. So there's them, Jim and Bobby, and then there's other members of the town. There's a lot of characters in this book that just kind of go along, and they're also starting to change, and they're also starting to become a little odd and start to build new things like Bobby is. And because of this, there's another boy in the town. His name is Hilly Brown, and he is 10 years old, and he's kind of an aspiring magician, I guess, if you want to say it. And Hilly is one of those folks of Haven that builds things, and one of the things that he builds is kind of like a transporter or something, but he doesn't think it'll work. He develops a magic show, and one of the show options or attractions that he wants is to, you know, like make something obviously disappear magically, but magically come back. Well, when he's doing his magic show, his volunteer that he uses is his brother David, and his brother David is about 4. And initially, David doesn't want to go into this thing, but he goes, and Hilly is successful with making David disappear, but Hilly is not successful with bringing David back. And so Hilly is very distraught that he is not able to bring David back, and his family and everything else is distraught because where's David? David has basically disappeared. And Hilly and David's grandfather, whose name is Ev, he starts to look in on this and where is David and kind of what's been going on with this town. And because as kind of a older gentleman, he notices things that's going on, but Ev is not affected. He's not one of those townspeople that's building things, and neither is Guard. And the reason is that they find out is because both Ev and Garv have a steel plate in their head, from an experience of some sort, and both Guard and Ev realize that whatever this is that's sending these people signals, whether it's from outer space or whatnot, is not affecting them because of the shield in their head, or the steel plate in their head, excuse me. And so again, this happens a lot through the townspeople, and eventually the thing in the woods behind Bobby's house is uncovered by Jim and Bobby, and it turns out to be a spaceship. And these things in the spaceship, or these things that that's making these things or people become what they are, is what the word is Tommyknockers. These things are becoming Tommyknockers because, like, when you make the full change into these creatures that these humans are changing into, that's what they say that they're doing. They're becoming what you don't know, but that's what it's saying that they're doing. Again, it's very complicated. It's a science fiction alien story, and I don't really like that, so that's why I really didn't like the book very much. I'm glad I finally was able to read it, but it was a little odd for me, personally. But it was funny because when my mother was my age, she was a bigger Stephen King fan than she is now, and when I had told her that I was reading this book, and if she remembered reading it or what, she said, well, the only thing I remember about it is batteries. And that's kind of the same idea, that you get through, a lot of people use a lot of batteries in this book. So the Duracell Energizer company went up in stock with this book. So anyway, that's it for this review. I hope everybody who read it liked it, but I'm assuming that some people are going to feel the way that I felt. But regardless, the next book that I'm going to read by Stephen King is actually a coffee table book, which is kind of odd. It's called Nightmares in the Sky. So I bid you all farewell and happy reading.